India has been watching the developments in Bangladesh very closely, and what has happened in the last 24 hours is perhaps prophetic in the sense that India, in a response to a statement from Shafiqul Alam, the press secretary to the chief advisor of the interim government of Bangladesh, Mohammad Yunus, after responding to his comments, India had said that Bangladesh should look inwards, protect its minorities, rather than make unwarranted comments and indulge in virtue signaling. Now, soon after, what we hear and see and what has been reported in Bangladesh is perhaps symptomatic of the problem that has been persisting in the country for the last few months, and something that India diplomatically has raised at the highest level, including the meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the chief advisor to the interim government of Bangladesh, Mohammad Yunus, on the sidelines of the BIMSTEC summit in Bangkok. Now, there too, the Prime Minister told the chief advisor about India's concern for the welfare of minorities, especially the Hindu community in Bangladesh. And this is something that has been worrying India since the interim government took charge after Sheikh Hasina, the former prime minister, had to leave the country and an interim government was put in place. Now, what happened was several radicals were released from prison. These were people who were also being held on terror charges, including the founder of the ABT, the Ansarullah Bangla team. Now, Hindus have faced persecution in Bangladesh, and in fact, the latest to the list of attacks on the minority community, especially the Hindu community, is the case of Shri Bhavesh Chandra Roy. This took place in Dinajpur district of Bangladesh. Bhavesh Chandra Roy is seen as someone who was a leader, an organizer of the Hindu community, and of course he was killed. And India has responded. The MEA has now again put out a statement saying that we have noted with distress the abduction and brutal killing of Shri Bhavesh Chandra Roy, a Hindu minority leader in Bangladesh. The killing follows a pattern of systematic persecution of Hindu minorities under the interim government, even as the perpetrators of previous such events roam with impunity. We condemn this incident and once again remind the interim government to live up to its responsibility of protecting all minorities, including Hindus, without inventing excuses or making distinctions. Now, this is an important statement from the MEA. Now, what has happened in Bangladesh is worrying because clearly, Bangladesh has seen continued attacks on Hindus. In fact, the Congress also has reacted to this. The Congress saying in Bangladesh, religious minorities, especially our Hindu brothers and sisters, are continuously facing atrocities. The brutal murder of a prominent Hindu community leader, Mr. Bhavesh Chandra Roy, is evidence that Prime Minister Narendra Modi's cordial meeting with Bangladesh's chief advisor has failed. Now, remember, Prime Minister Modi also reminded Mohammad Yunus about the need to protect minorities. And also, the Congress then goes on to say atrocities on religious minorities in Bangladesh, the violation of human rights, and the attempts to erase the memories of the 1971 Liberation War are efforts to weaken the relationship between India and Bangladesh. Now, this is something that we too have been reporting about in detail. What happened? Well, a Hindu community leader was abducted from his home and beaten to death in the Dinajpur district in North Bangladesh. This has been reported by various media in Bangladesh, including top newspapers as well. And the body of Bhavesh Chandra Roy, a resident of Basudebpur, which is about 330 kilometers northwest of Dhaka, he was taken to hospital, and after this, his body was sent. He was sent back in an unconscious state home to his home, and his body was taken to hospital by his family members. He was taken to hospital where he was declared dead on arrival. Now, Roy was the vice president of the Birol unit of the Bangladesh Puja Udjapon Parishad, and a prominent leader of the Hindu community in the area. And therefore, this is worrying because India has been flagging this to Bangladesh repeatedly. Bangladesh, India said, was indulging in virtue signaling by trying to draw a parallel unnecessarily when it comes to the Murshidabad violence, because the two cases are very different, which we've explained in previous videos. And now, of course, another killing in Bangladesh, clearly showing that there has been a continuous persecution of minorities which the interim government has failed to check, and it continues even today, with India also pointing this out again and again at the highest level and at every opportunity possible. This is something that is worrying because a few days ago, the army chief and Mohammad Yunus shared the stage, and even then there was an appeal for calm, for religious tolerance and unity, communal harmony, but that is something that Bangladesh clearly at this point is not perhaps receiving the message, and the attacks on minorities in Bangladesh continue, with the latest case being this particular attack on a Hindu community leader. For more such videos where we go beyond the headlines and provide context and get into the details of what's going on, stay tuned to NDTV's YouTube platform. For news and updates, stay tuned to NDTV. Thank you so much for watching.